Hey everybody! Today I want to show you how I sash two of my quilted blocks together. These blocks have been quilted, appliqued, stippled with batting in the hoop. They're part of my Scrappy Caddy set, and I'm going to put them together with little strips of sashing. The first thing we need to do is cut the sashing, and I cut my strips 1 1/8 inch wide, and I cut them from selvage to selvage, and I'll show you how I do that. That seems to be just the perfect width for sashing these quilted blocks together. I want to quickly show you how to find 1 1/8 inch on your cutting mat. If you already know how to do this, just zone me out or skip forward a little bit. But when I teach classes, a lot of ladies ask me how to find this mark. So 1 inch is very common, 1 1/2 inches is very common, and 1 1/4 is very common. And 1 1/8 is this little hash mark right here. So that's the line that I'll line my ruler up on to cut my 1 1/8 strip of fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is just square off this edge. And our blocks will only be as straight as our sashing is, so we won't talk about any crooked sewing yet. Next I'm going to find that 1 1/8 inch mark, line it up, and cut my strip of sashing. Now if I had a lot of strips to cut for a project, I'd cut them all right now while everything was lined up and straight. But for today I just need one. I'm about ready to sew. I have a 9014 universal needle in my machine, white bobbin thread, white sewing thread, just regular old sewing thread, and I'm going to use a little 1/4 inch foot. That makes it really easy for me to sew a 1/4 inch seam. You can use whatever presser foot you want as long as you know where that 1/4 inch is. So the first thing I'll do is take my sashing right side up, and I want to sew the sashing right on this side of the block. So I'm going to flip that block over, line it up even with the sashing. You can pin it if you want. I don't generally pin this piece, which is maybe why some of my seams aren't as straight as they could be. And I'll just start sewing. Now I need to take this to the cutting table and just trim this excess sashing, and I'll trim this excess sashing to match the block. Now that I've trimmed that sashing, I'm going to go to the ironing board and press the sashing open. Once you have that sashing pressed open, take your second block, turn it right side down with the sashing, line it up, and stitch that together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll take this to the ironing board and press it open, but when I press it, I don't want to press my blocks because it will flatten the pretty batting and stippling look. I just want to press the seam. My blocks are sashed together. I ironed that last seam. I kept my iron away from the stippled area, so I've got some nice texture in there. And on the back you can see that when it's sashed, that batting comes together so there isn't a gap underneath your sashing. This is one simple way to do sashing. There are other ways to do it. Make sure you check out my sassy sashing video for another favorite of mine. Thanks for watching.